Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I am doing fine. Um, still there's a bunch of stuff going on, but now I can't check. But Joe Biden made an announcement that he was going to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt. I think it has like conditions, but I've been trying to look at mine, but of course, the site is crashed. And of course, that same day, I did make a payment. But that's okay, because I'm still going to have to pay on it, because it's like, I'm still, I wish that they would just cancel the whole thing. But, that's just my 2 cents. Alright, so this is going to be the second week we're talking about Dorothy Dandridge. The late, great Dorothy Dandridge. I watched 2 of her movies, Carmen Jones and Porgy and Bess. I feel like those are the ones she's best known for, especially Carmen Jones, because she got an Academy Award nomination. So, we're going to get into it. So if you want to watch Carmen Jones, you have to rent it. It's not anywhere for free. Porgy and Bess is on YouTube, but the quality, I'm just going to say, it's not that great. But I'm going to explain why once we get to Porgy and Bess. But Carmen Jones, the genre is a Bizet opera / musical. It was released October 28th, 1954. It was directed by Otto Preminger, which was also, this movie, they did start an affair. But it wasn't a good relationship, him and Dorothy Dandridge. So the synopsis is, at an all-black army camp, civilian parachute maker and hot bundle, Carmen Jones is desired by many of the men. Naturally, she wants Joe, who's engaged to a sweet Cindy Lou and about to go into pilot training for the Korean War. Going after him, she succeeds only in getting him into the stockade. While she awaits his release, trouble looms for both of them. Songs from Bizet opera with modernized lyrics. Okay. So, I'm going to give a spoiler alert. I am going to spoil the ending. So, spoiler alert. There we go. Okay, so the cast is Harry Belafonte as Joe, a soldier selected for flight school. His singing voice is dubbed by Laverne Hutcherson, which was a white person. I don't like that. Dorothy Dandridge has Carmen Jones, who pursues Joe because he alone ignores her. Her singing voice is dubbed by Marilyn Horne, another white person. And then Pearl Bailey is Frankie, one of Carmen's best friends. They do not say whether her voice... No, her voice was not dubbed for certain parts. But I'm going to talk about that. So the pros are the characters and the cast. So the characters / the actors. The cast really make all the characters shine. I think that was the highlight of the movie, the fact that these characters were brought to life so vividly, especially Carmen and Joe, Dorothy Dandridge and Harry Belafonte. Woo! Harry Belafonte. Is it Belafonte? Belafonte? Harry Belafonte? Did a great job as their characters. They really embodied them and gave them great life. And I also love Pearl Bailey as Frankie. I think she played her part very well also. But last but not least, Olga Jones played Cindy Lou, and she was very great as well. I could feel her sadness and hopelessness as she tried to get her man she loved back to no avail. So, spoiler. I already said spoiler. The story was another pro. I think the story was very interesting and action-packed. I don't think anything about the original... I don't know anything about the original opera. But I think the story was a great modern adaptation. For the time period it was created, it made sense of the lives of all the characters. And I love the first song the movie plays out because Carmen pursued Joe, knowing he didn't really want her. But then once she sees he can't take care of her, she gets with a man she rejected at first. So, like, there's a boxer, and of course, I forgot the guy's name. But there's a boxer in the movie. He's, like, really famous in the movie. And then, like, Joe, things happen, and he can't really take care of her. So, I'm not going to tell you what happens. I'm going to spoil some other stuff, though, like the ending, so, hey. But yeah, you can look up the synopsis or you can watch the movie. I watched it on Amazon Prime and it was like $2.99. Oh, for some it's usually $3.99, but for some reason they gave me a discount of $1, which is like, hey, $1 off. That's nice. Um, I also love the elements of superstition. I think that was very unique to the element in the story. So there was like two superstitious things. One was about birds, and I guess they're like death birds or something. That the grandma says when Joe goes to Carmen's house, and then at the end it was like the spades of 9 means that she's gonna like die soon. So I'm like, dang, because these are like years apart. So I'm like, how early is a premonition? I thought the premonition or the superstition or something or the sign is supposed to be like, right before something bad happens. That's just my interpretation. I don't know much about superstition, so. But I like those elements. I realized it was a tragedy, but I just hate that Joe couldn't just move on without killing Carmen. So he does kill her. I think it's unfortunate that someone revenge killing an ex or partner is very common in real life, even today. So that really hit home for me. So it just made me really sad, because it's like women really go through this even now, still after over 50 years. I keep thinking that 1950, 50 years ago, but it's not 2000, right? Would that math be right? I think that math would be right. But yeah, it's like 60 or 70. Don't quote me on my math, but it seems like it should be closer than we think. But I feel like it is, like, for certain things, like we think it's so long ago, but it's like not really. But yeah. So the music, I really love Pearl Bailey's song in the movie because it was her voice. So that was really great. I really love that she actually got to sing at least one song in the movie. I actually enjoyed the music for the most part, but I do have issues with it, so I'm going to save that for the cons. The wardrobe and the setting. I really love the wardrobe, especially when Carmen and her friends were being splurged by Husky Miller. That's the guy's name, Husky Miller. He was the boxer, and he had money, so they was dressed up and decked out, and had the bling bling, all of it. The dresses look so beautiful in their accessories. I do love all of the places that the story took place. It felt like they were all unique and worked for the story. So they were like, in the beginning they were at I think it was like a military base, I guess. But Carmen was like a parachute maker. She was pretty dressed up for a parachute maker, though. I'm guessing that's how the opera is, because I feel like. And then it was weird because when I watched the documentary, Otto Preminger was saying like, oh, she didn't look at the part as like an average woman. She looked too glamorous. And then I feel like in the movie she did still look glamorous, even before she got with the Husky Miller, the rich guy at the end of the movie. Like, I still feel like she looked pretty, like, extraordinary to me. But that's just me. All right, let's go for the cons. So the music. I will talk about what I didn't like about. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what I didn't like about the music. First off, the fact that none of the actors besides Pearl Bailey were able to sing their own parts, which I get it. They were not opera singers, but and it was 1950s. But I just want to say, I feel like, why couldn't they have just sung regularly and not done opera? Because I know they want opera singers, or better yet, they could have had black opera singers. That would have been so nice. You know what I mean? Oh, but I did see there were a few opera singers that dubbed their parts, but I wish there were more. And I don't think the two main, Carmen and Joe, they weren't black people singing for their parts, but other people had black opera singers singing for their parts, so it was weird to me. Especially with an all-black cast, like, Also, the opera versus the settings were a bit off, so you're like in the house or like a gym back room for when they're Husky Miller, and then you just sing an opera. LOL. So it's like really dramatic in like everyday situations, so that was kind of interesting. So I feel like that was weird, more than interesting. Interesting, I feel like if it was interesting, it would be a good, but I'm saying interesting as in a weird. It felt out of place. I think this movie could have been a musical without having to be an opera, and I feel like that would have made the film better. Because you could just have a musical. Like I know Hairspray, like the movie Hairspray, was like in the 2000s. But I feel like they did a really great job. That's like, I want to say it's one of my favorites. But I'm going to talk about that next week, actually. My favorite movie, so preview. Anyway, we'll see if it makes a list, because I totally forgot about that movie. But yeah, I feel like it could have been like that. And then the pacing. The pacing in this movie was so atrocious, lol. Even though the movie is almost 2 hours long, it felt like I have a typo. It felt like it never stayed in one setting long enough. And you're in another setting. And then, so it's like you stay in one scene, you have like one song, and then boom, you're at another scene, and something else happening. So it was like really like boom, 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 boom. It doesn't give it time to really develop the story, I feel like, because it's like, to us, one day she's with Joe, and then like 3 days later she's with Husky Miller. There's no explanation. It's just like, there's no development. So I'm not saying Joe couldn't fall in love with her one night, which that happens. It seems to like he falls in love with her in one night. But that's pretty fast, even for like romantic movies, you know what I mean? The director/direction. I might not like him because he was abusive and not a good husband to Dorothy Dandridge. So I'm just gonna say I'm a little biased about it. But I still think that the actor did a really good job, but he did not put a smooth story together. It was like scene. Like the story was just happening, but it wasn't like a smooth happening. So along with the pacing, the story, even though I loved it, was really disjointed. Even though he could just be following exactly what happens in the opera. I haven't seen the opera, so I don't know. Like I said, it's sort of like a collection of scenes instead of a flowing story. So I think it could have been paced better and directed in a much more solid story, into a much more solid story than it was. So my overall opinion is, I see why this movie is so legendary. I think Harry and Dorothy did a great job acting in this movie. I loved/hated the music, since a lot of it was dubbed by white opera singers. It's had like a love-hate thing. Like it wasn't bad, but then I wanted black opera singers. The story is very interesting, and unfortunately with the ending, is relatable. I mean, unfortunate, and then it's sad, and it's like realistic, because that does happen. But I had a good time watching it. I did. So I would give it a 6 out of 10. Now, I say this about both movies. Usually I'm not a remake person. I'm like, leave the stuff alone. But I do think if it's ever remade, it could be a lot of improvements in creating a new legacy for it. So yeah. And of course, I read a poem. I read a poem for both movies. So I did a Tetractys, like I did for Nope. So it's a poem that consists of 5 lines. So the first line has 1 syllable, then 2 syllables, then 3 syllables, then 4 syllables, and the last line has 10 syllables. What did there? 5, 10. Yeah. So it's called Jealousy, Not Fate. You could have been truly happy for once, but bad love, not bad luck, took you away. So yeah, she definitely felt like it was bad luck. But I'm saying it's bad love, because Joe just couldn't move on with his life. And I feel like he just needed to move on. And I get it. She did kind of two-time him. But, girls got to do what she got to do. You want her to, live in a hotel with you and she ain't got nothing. Which, I mean, hey. Some people, hey, they'll work on it. But, she just did what she had to do. So, yeah, that's what I think of Carmen Jones. So now we're going to go to Porgy and Bess. Porgy and Bess. I kind of like the name Bess. I think it's cute. But, I feel like if I gave it to my kid, it would be, very old school name. Bess or Bessie. I feel like that's cute. Okay, so it's a musical drama. It was released June 24th, 1959. Which is interesting because when her and Otto Preminger, who also directs this, were together, he was like, just get lead roles. And then for 6 years, she didn't really get anything. And then finally she decided, you know what, hey, this ain't working out. You're not leaving your wife. I'm just go for what I want to go for. And then it kind of sucks because I remember in the documentary, he was very hard on her while they were doing this movie. So the synopsis is a woman who is scorned by nearly everyone around her meets a man who'd love her regardless, if only everyone else would allow them to, which I feel like is a good description. Also, the cast is Sidney Poitier as Porgy, sing dubbed by Robert McFerrin, which I think, because I clicked on it, you know how you click on Wikipedia, they both have black opera singers dubbing them in this movie. And Dorothy Dandridge is Bess, sing dubbed by Adele Addison. God. Let me just double check, y'all. But I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm going to click it real quick and check. Yep, African American. On my iPad, the back button is at the top instead of the bottom. Yep, both African American. So that's a good change of pace. I really love that. I'm going to talk about that, of course. Yeah. And then there's Sammy Davis Jr. Davis is my grandma's maiden name. Sammy Davis Jr. as Sporting Life, which I'm like, why? No, there's another person who has a not normal name. And there's Pearl Bailey as Maria, who I think she was like the judgmental church lady. Brock Peters as Crown, who's like another randomly named person who doesn't have a regular name, and Diana Carroll as Carla. Which I'm just be honest, I couldn't really tell, but I could tell, but I can't really tell because, like I said, quality. It's on YouTube. Completely, the whole full thing is on YouTube, but it is not the greatest quality. But I'm gonna go into my pros and cons, and I really love that Dorothy Dandridge got to work with Pearl Bailey again and Diane Carroll again. So I feel like it's cool because they worked in Carmen Jones together. So the pros, the music, I really love the music. I love that this time the movie was dubbed, at least for Porgy and Bess, by black opera singers. So I really love that. I thought all the songs sounded really lovely and were sung well. They were a bit random, not gonna lie. But I feel like that can happen when you're trying to adapt a play into a movie. So that can be kind of a thing. The characters / the actors, again, I think all the characters were unique and memorable. Although I hated the judgmental Christian characters, they were just all up in Bess's Kool-Aid. And I wanted them to be out of her Kool-Aid. So there's that. But that means they did a good job if I didn't like them, so LOL. Of course, Dorothy Dandridge, Sidney Poitier, and Sammy Davis Jr. were the major highlights and played their respective roles extremely well. Sporting Life, I wanted him to get out of town and still, because I just wanted Porgy and Bess to live happily ever after. You know what I'm saying? Okay, the set / setting. I love this town seems tight-knit and seem to surround each other literally and figuratively with emotional support for one another. I love that they were only a few settings so it wasn't overwhelming, which I feel like they might have been trying to do to like mimic a play. I like the film. I like that the film seemed to try to keep the settings like play-like. So yeah. My cons, of course, the direction and the director again. I'll be honest. I don't understand why he is. Maybe these aren't his best movies, or maybe this is just the stories are just what they are. I don't understand why he's acclaimed because to me, these weren't really like the best direction-wise. And then I do like the sets, but they also like kind of blended together because everything was kind of like gray and brown and just kind of washed out. The story and the transitions were weird and not paced correctly, and nothing flowed well together. So another strike for Preminger. The story. So I'm not a slice of life genre style person. It's not my favorite. It's kind of like one of my least favorites, honestly, if we're going to be honest. Even though I've definitely written slice of life stories. But for some reason, I can write it, but if I have to watch it, it's not really my favorite. Because I'm like, well, where is this going? What is happening in this movie? We're just watching you do stuff. What's going on? Where's the plot? Where's the story? Where's the beginning? Where's the end? You know what I mean? It was very disjointed and seemed meshed together. I don't know if the play is like this, so that might be why it was like this. I feel like they could have adapted the story better, though. And there were some scenes that didn't seem necessary. but they were like, it's like they were trying to explain something for later instead of just like showing us, which they showed us anyway. So, for example, um, Clara runs out into the storm to find her husband. Of course, it's like a hurricane. So then Bess gets left with her baby. So they're singing about, I guess they're singing about like that and stuff. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like, and at the end, when like Bess runs away with Sport and Life, like I said, spoiler alert. Then I think Maria has the baby. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I just feel like they could have showed us something more than telling us. Maybe that's not the best example, but like, and I feel like there were some scenes that like, of course they didn't show it, but there was a sexual assault scene. So I'm just gonna give you a warning. You don't see it, but then you see the aftermath of her being upset, like Bess being upset because Crown sexually assaulted her. So yeah, I feel like there were things that, I guess that was more of one of the ones that was plot. I don't know. They have like a picnic scene. I'm like, did you need the picnic scene? I guess because Crown is there and he kidnaps Bess. And, you know, assaults her. But I don't know. I don't feel like it didn't really need to be there. I feel like they could have like cut some stuff and pieced the story together better. And the pacing, again, it's like rushed, but it was like still almost exactly 2 hours long. So there's more time to develop the story fully, but Preminger made everything choppy. Yeah, and I feel like some things could have been worked out and fleshed out and cut and pasted and redone. So here's my overall opinion. I understand why the movie is so controversial based on the play, and I wonder if, you know, a remake could pay more respect. Remake, but I wonder if, again, a remake in a more respectable way could fix that, because, you know, they have a lot of stereotypes. And also, oh yeah, and however, I think the original playwright's not running it distributed is just weird to me, because it's like, they say the movie's terrible, but it's based on their work, lol. Which I feel like there are white people writing about black people in a town, so it's just weird to me in general. But I'm guessing they probably would never give out the rights to like make another movie, which I feel like is dumb, because you're white people writing about black people, like, and this is a white director. It's like, you probably shouldn't have even written any of this. But then I think it also, no, it's one of the playwrights wrote the book that it was based on, and he wrote the play with his wife. So yeah, it's just, you know, it's like a hot mess. But it is in the Library of Congress. I guess if you're not in DC, you can't just go to the Library of Congress and get it. But like I said, it's on YouTube, but not very good quality. I enjoyed the music and the acting. Mostly those really saved the film, and the sets and setting. However, I feel like it could have been so much more cohesive and a better adaptation of the story. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Yeah, so I think, like I said about Carmen Jones, maybe a remake, if you can even get the rights, if the family lets you have the rights. I feel like it could really improve on it, I think. Or maybe you could take out some of the stereotypes, you could take out some stuff to make it more modern, more, you know, I'm trying to think, not friendly, I guess more flattering to African Americans. There we go. So I wrote another poem, and it calls Love Flies When You Want It to Stay. You can't hold someone who doesn't want to be held on. You can't hold someone who doesn't want to be held on to, because they will soon break free. So yeah, because, you know, like I said, Bess, she does run away with Sport and Life at the end of the movie, which they do not show. There's some things they're showing that I wish they didn't show, and they didn't show stuff that I wish that they did show. And then they just have the characters have to tell him instead of, you know, us seeing it. So that's another thing. But yeah, those are what I think of those two movies. I think Dorothy in both of those movies was really great, honestly. Amazing, talented, beautiful, all those things. But yeah, if you've seen those movies, let me know what you think about them. If you haven't, will you check them out? Let me know your opinions. So yeah, I will see you all next week. Yeah, I'm trying to get it to 25 minutes. But I'll see you all next week.